35mm f1.4 G Master by Sony. This has been my go-to lens, my #1 lens for the last 3 years. I've shot way over 100,000 photos with it, delivered over tens of thousands of photos to my wedding clients, and this is my long-term review. For those of you maybe considering purchasing this lens or switching to this lens right now. And I will include a tons of samples from my wedding photography work and some portraits so you can see how this lens performs in like a real life scenarios in multiple different conditions. So first of all, there's a lot of 35mm out there for Sony. There's like tons of them actually made by Sony, and there's tons of them from third-party companies. Most popular ones, probably like the main competitors, would be Sony Zeiss Distagon 3514, so like the older top of the line Sony 3514, and a Sigma 3514 DGDN. And the decision, not super simple, but I'll get to that within the video, and I'll give my recommendation at the end of that video. Why should you consider which one? So starting with the design of that 3514 and the build of this lens, it's a G Master lens. It has like a full G Master treatment, meaning it's a top of the line from Sony, and you can definitely see and feel that. It's a compact yet very, very well built. Nothing is loose with this lens. Nothing moves inside. We have focusing ring, we have aperture ring that can be both lockable and the clickable, so it can click or go smoothly. It does have AM to MF switch and one custom button. And after 3 years of using this, again, as my main lens on one of my cameras, like probably 90% of the time. And for those of you who know me, you know, I put my lenses on the ground, in the grass. I don't wear any lens caps or lens hoods or filters. And this lens is holding up exceptionally well. The material that I use for this lens, it's like a sort of plastic something composite material, top of the notch, way better than the metal build that they used for Zeiss lenses. I have both 3514 Zeiss and a 5518 Zeiss, and both after a couple of months they looked crazy scratched and everything, while this one has 0 scratches, literally 0 scratches. It does, I wouldn't say it looks brand new, but come on, like for 3 years of heavy usage, almost no signs of use. The literally only thing that I can find and think of is the focusing ring. It seems to be making sounds that I don't think it had on day one. Listen to this. I am pretty sure it was dead silent on day one, so there was like no sounds, because like this is a focusing ring, so there's nothing moving. It's electronic focusing ring. So yeah, I don't think that sound was there, but to be fair, I have never used this ring in this lens. I always use autofocus, so it doesn't bother me, but this is the only thing I could find. On the other hand, the aperture ring, which I use on a daily basis, I just use aperture ring. It's still as good as it was on day one. It has enough of resistance. It didn't go loose at all. So the switching from like each stop is perfect. Then switching to A, there's still enough resistance if you want to go there. So this one is perfect. Okay, now let's move into the performance of this lens. So, I mean, autofocus, sharpness, overall look and feel of the images. So all these 3 things I'm going to talk now. The AF system is built using 2 linear motors. That's what Sony does with all the new G Master lenses, meaning the autofocus is like completely silent. There is no sounds, or you don't feel anything moving inside when focusing, and like it's flawless. Like I've been using this lens with A7R III, A9 Mark II, A1, A7 IV, and A7R V, and it's been 100% reliable. I promise you this video is not only gonna be me sugarcoating everything about this lens, but I'm being 100% honest with you. Like this lens is exceptional, like in terms of everything I've said so far. If you have like any other opinions, please let me know down in the comments. But I do have some negatives. I'll come to that in a second, but certainly not in the performance of the AF system department. If you use this lens for video, you do have pretty substantial focus breathing. So you have your field of view like changing when you're focusing from the something that is in front of the lens to something that is farther in the back. Although with all the new Sony cameras, you do have focus breathing compensation. So this is compensated with like slightly cropping the image in all the newer cameras. And that's something that only Sony lenses have. So if you are thinking about Sigma lens or Samyang lens, none of these lenses are gonna be using lens compensation in the camera, so that's something to keep in mind. 35G Master, I feel it started the whole new chapter of the sharpness of the lenses from Sony. I remember being blown away, zooming in, shooting my first portraits with it and being like, holy cow, this is insane. This is just so sharp. And after hundreds of thousand photos, I still go, holy cow, it's insane how sharp this lens still is. So it is as sharp as it was on day one. I'm shooting mostly f1.4 aperture with this one, and all the distances from being like super close to the subject and having subjects far away, it's like 100% sharp. And this is important because I do hear, and I have some personal experience, especially with Sigma lenses, having different level of sharpness on different distances. So being sharp when shooting close and being less sharp when shooting in the mid-range. And I do have some experience with Sony size lenses being weirdly less sharp in a certain parts of the frame. So that's something that I know some of the other lenses do struggle with. If you also have some opinions and some experience with this, please let us know down in the comments. I would love the comment place to be a space when we can share our thoughts and learn from each other too. But this, issues with sharpness is something that I have not experienced with a Sony G Master lens. And I believe this is something that you pay higher price for, that, reliability over time. And now the images. All of these photos, by the way, that you're looking at are edited with my Magic Cadabra preset. I have 3 colorful presets in the pack, 1 main one that I use for all of my work and 2 that I use for my personal work. And I do have a black and white preset and a bunch of tools. Also, if you're a wedding photographer, make sure to check out my Flash for Wedding Photographer's course. It has amazing reviews. It's changing people's lives, and I'm really happy about this. But speaking about the images that you're looking at, that lens is a beast. Again, extremely sharp. You can see that. Very nice and smooth bokeh. No onion rings in the bokeh. It's very circular and nice and smooth rendering, which I love because it is very reliable and it doesn't distract at all from the main subject when you shoot with it. The color and contrast is exceptional. It's crazy good when shooting backlit. There is no flare. I'm going to get to that in a second. And as I told you, is my go-to lens, meaning I've shot everything with it. Getting readies, details, group shots, portraits, kids' portraits, epic locations, boring locations, rain, snow, sun, literally everything. And it's flawless. The way I like to use it, the way I like using 35-1/4 in general, is getting close, especially for portraits, getting close, wide open, preferably surrounded by something that will nicely blur, preferably backlit. So images like this is the bread and butter for me when using 35-1/4 lens. And this is when this lens creates magic for me. There is one part though that I am personally missing. Sometimes I wish it was less perfect. Yes, you know what I mean. Sometimes I wish it had more crazier character, maybe some weird flares or some light leaks or just something weird happening in the background that it just does not happen. And for that reason, I actually do carry something that I call fun lenses with me all the time. So lenses that are imperfect. But yeah, this is, this is something that you always have. Imperfect lenses, they're usually manual, or if they have AF system, the AF system is not perfect at all, so they're not that reliable. So I guess it's that juggle that we need to play with lenses. You can't have something that is both perfect and not perfect. Am I right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. And this lens, in my long-term review opinion, that this lens is perfect. 35G Master is perfect. It has life sentence with me. I know that I can rely on it on every possible occasion. And as I said before, it is more expensive than its competitors, but what you're getting is 100% perfection. But also, this lens has been around for like almost 3 years, so you can definitely find used samples, units of this lens. And with my long-term experience with this lens, I wouldn't be afraid of picking this one up used, which I would be afraid if I would be picking Zeiss lens or a Sigma lens or other brand lens. So this is something that you also can consider. But also something worth noticing is that like all the G Master lenses, so 35G Master does color match with 24G Master and a 50G Master. So if you're building your kit around G Master lenses, like it doesn't make sense to throw a third-party lens into the mix, because you're gonna have like a different tint of color. And so when building your kit, and if the colors are important for you across the board, stick to one brand. I don't tell you pick all the G Master, because this is expensive. I know that, but just stick to one brand. Make sure your lenses color match. Is going to be easier for you to edit. And with that note, I think that's it. Let me know in the comments also which 35 is your go-to lens, which ones are you using and you're happy with it or not happy with it. I actually do want to know. And thanks so much for watching this video. I see you guys in the next one soon, very soon, I hope. Bye bye.